Welcome back to Day Spills Tea. I, of course, am the lovely Day. And today I want to talk to you about Ready to Love Potomac. That's right. A new season of Ready to Love has started already. Like, we didn't even get a 1 week break, and that's perfectly fine with me. Before I jump into that, I have to scream and shout. Thank you all so much for subscribing. I have made it to 10K. Oh! I'm super, super hype about it because honestly, when I started this channel, many of you know that I started it because I was home nursing an injury. I had nothing else to do and I was just watching TV and I just wanted somebody to talk about my TV shows with me. And I really didn't think that so many of you would, come on board and support the channel and be willing to engage with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. That being said, go ahead and do your part and hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you show me some love by hitting the like button. Leave some comments down below. Let me know if you're watching this season of Ready to Love. What are your thoughts on the cast members, that sort of thing? What are some other shows that you all are watching? And then make sure that if you haven't subscribed already, that you go ahead and join the 10K because apparently we own and popping. And I like to say it's my first 10K because, once you get a little bit of success, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm about to keep going. So anyways, that is my plan. For those of you who have already subscribed, thanks again so much. I really, really appreciate it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, we have a new season of Ready to Love. And the first person that we meet pretty much is Paul. And I'm going to give you kind of like my first impression of people as they arrive. So, Paul seemed incredibly immature. He said he wanted a woman with a lot of sexual energy, but also some substance. Okay, Paul. Then we meet Dakia, and Dakia is tired of dating online. She's tired of swiping and all of that kind of thing. And she meets Paul, and he immediately is throwing some whack lines at her. He tells her she's beautiful, and then asks if that's her second name. And I could tell that she was immediately like I don't know if you guys know how much we do not appreciate the lame lines. Okay. I'm speaking for all the ladies. Then Tiffany arrived and she was like, I like to touch and be touched, if that's telling you anything. And I'm like, okay. Not quite sure exactly where to go with that, but I like a girl who knows what she wants. Then we met Wiley. Wiley appears to be obviously younger than just about everybody. He's a former athlete. And what else did he say? Oh, he wants to get married and he's a charter high school teacher. Fernando was chivalrous. That is what he said, is that chivalry is not dead with him, which I can appreciate. Okay, Siri swear I'm talking to her and I'm not. So I could really appreciate that. But then he goes off and starts talking about his last relationship with this woman who apparently was sleeping with other men in his house. And honestly, to me, not that it's his fault, but that made me think like, is he a little bit of a sucker? Like, he said my ex had no respect for me, and clearly she didn't. But what kind of man would he have to be in a relationship for her to do something like that? I don't know. And then he made it sound like she was going to like swinging parties and everything. She was nasty. It sounded like she was a freak. So I think myself and a lot of other YouTubers are probably going to be interested in trying to find out, who she is and what she up to these days. So anyways, then we meet Precious. Precious seems a little bit younger than the other ladies. I remember they said her age, and I think she is a lot younger. I really like Precious. Precious seems cool, round the way girl-ish, but you can tell that she's educated, she's intelligent, she's articulate. I think I'm gonna like Precious a lot. I just want her to do something different, with this situation. Um, then we met Keena. Keena calls herself a diva. At first impression, I'm like, okay, not really feeling Keena. She seemed immediately like judgmental, and she kind of seemed like she was just throwing people off like immediately. Like, I don't like him because of this, I don't like him because of that. She immediately saw Fernando and was like, I don't like him because his butt is big and can't nobody have a big button relationship but me. Okay, well, then she met Wiley and she was like, he too young. And it's just like, it sounds like you're approaching this with the same thought processes as what you've always had in the past, which is probably part of the reason that you're still single. So then we meet Demetrius. Ooh. Demetrius came on the scene and was all chocolatey. Is that a word? I pronounced that all wrong. He was all chocolatey, very well groomed. He was wearing this like kind of plum eggplant colorish suit. And it was just so complimentary to his skin tone. And he seemed cool. He seemed like really, really cool. And it was like, okay, all the ladies are about to be interested in Demetrius. And I think most of them were. Then we meet Laverne. Laverne seemed a little cocky. We know that he used to be a bodybuilder. Yeah, I didn't really get much personality off him, except that he seemed a little bit cocky. He seemed a little bit on the arrogant, feeling himself side, which oftentimes can be a really, really attractive personality trait in men. But I don't know. Something about Laverne has got me kind of like, pass. And maybe my mind will change in the future. I don't know. So then we have Clifton. So Clifton arrived and he is tall, got a thick head of hair and a thick beard. And his voice. He had like this very, very beautiful, deep, very clear voice that I think the ladies and the men were like, who that? He sings really, really cool too. There was a moment where he and Joy were kind of connecting, and I enjoyed watching the two of them together. I would like to see where that goes. Although I think I remember in the trailer for next week, we see him kissing some other woman. I can't tell if that was Joy or not. Anyways, which brings me to Joy. Joy was just a baddie in a green dress, green being my favorite color. Joy really looked amazing in her green dress with like her goddess locks and all of that. And she seems like we would be friends. I loved her sense of humor. It was kind of low key, like not goofy. Like I could be goofy, but she seems like she's funny without being goofy. She seemed very confident and she seemed extremely intelligent and like she knows what she wants and absolutely what she doesn't want. She's a girl after my own heart. Then there was Sabrina. Sabrina is beautiful and she seemed so kind and pleasant and sweet. And no shade, no tea, but I felt like she wasn't dressed for a date. Like, I'm not saying that you got to have the girls all out or that you have to wear super tight fitting clothes, but I just felt like what she was wearing could have easily been worn to church. It didn't seem like something for a date. Like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of I don't know. Anyways, so moving on, the show starts and Tommy lets them all know that two people are going home on the very first night. So, of course, everybody's a little nervous about that. This season, we're starting with 7 females and 7 males instead of the normal 10 and 10. And so then they began the process of mingling because they don't have much time. It's two people going home tonight. So I need to kind of put up my best foot. Fernando immediately starts to make conversation with Joy, and who could blame him? Like Joy is bad, but he is interviewing her. What if I listen? I know men don't oftentimes watch these types of shows, but y'all should so that you can figure out what we don't like. We don't want to be interviewed. We don't want to be bored to death. We don't want you to talk to us in poetry. We don't want Grand Rising Queen every morning. None of that. Like, pay attention. He sat there and interviewed her. His questions were very, very, very like, if you were to search on the internet, what are good ice breaking questions? Like, this is what he was asking her. It wasn't real engaging conversation. And you could just tell she was annoyed and not interested at all. Um, yeah, so Keena was chatting with Wiley. Again, she felt like he was too young and she was giving him very dismissive energy. And I didn't like that. I was like, he didn't really deserve that, but it's up to her. She ain't got to be with nobody she don't want to be with. But I didn't feel like she gave off getting to know people vibes. She gave off vibes like the same kind of vibes that Paul was giving off, like, I am the prize. All of y'all want me, and let me just decide who I don't want. And maybe that's not how she felt, but that's kind of how it seemed to me. So then we have Demetrius and Sabrina were sitting having a conversation. And he admitted that his previous marriage ended because of his own insecurities and his own infidelity. And he went on to talk about the fact that he had since sought therapy and that he was continuing to see a counselor. And I was like, I knew I liked him. Like, I don't like that you um had infidelity in your marriage. But I do also know that it happens. And very rarely do people actually take accountability and say, it was me, that I was the one who messed up. I can't tell you how many times I have heard people say, well, I cheated, but it was because he XYZ. It was because she ZYX or whatever. It was because I wasn't getting this and I wasn't getting that. But no, he's like, I had insecurities and I did stuff I wasn't supposed to do, and I'm seeking therapy so that I could be a better man. I ain't gonna never diss nobody who's actually invested in being a better human being. Props to him. I really like that. Um, and so, she kind of felt like she could open up to him as well. And I just thought that that was a really, really cool moment. I hope that more people are a little more genuine like that. And I hope that it's genuine because, looks ain't always what they, appear to be after just that first episode. So she talked about how she had also been married. She got married very young and she just wasn't really sure what she wanted. So she kind of felt responsible for the demise of her marriage too. And I don't know, I can appreciate that it seemed like once he let his walls down, she was comfortable letting her walls down so that they could have a real conversation. Um, so then we get Paul and Precious. Paul done told this woman that his name is P.O. because he always delivers. If you don't get out this beautiful woman's face with this BS, get what? Get out. This is so not creative. This is so fourth grade. Where did you get this from? And if I don't remember the exact ages, but I think that Paul was amongst the older ones. And he just came off to me as kind of goofy and immature. And I don't see him being a match for any of the ladies who are there. I don't see any of the ladies there being interested in his type of personality. I'm not saying he's a bad man. I'm not saying he's not good enough, but I don't see him being a match for any of these ladies. I don't think they're at the same level in like their humor and in their personalities. And I was annoyed for you, Precious. um, and it was so funny when Joy talked about it because she looked so disgusted. Like, anyway, so Paul then sits down with Ace, another beautiful Black woman. And he's asking her about her past relationship. She tells him that she's been married before. It only lasted about a year and a half. And then he proceeds to judge her. And then he also proceeds to basically blame her for the failure of the marriage as if he knows anything about her. He says, well, that wasn't very long. Did you even really try? Like, excuse me? And then he starts saying to her something about, you know, uh, if we were in a relationship, something to the fact of if we were in a relationship, is that what you're going to do in this situation too? Is just kind of quit, honey. I know for a fact she was thinking we will never be in a relationship. Like that is one thing you absolutely do not have to worry about, Paul. She handled it with grace though. She remained calm and cool, and she just was kind of like, you know, Paul, stop it. I feel like that was so rude of him. I feel like it was so rude. Anyways, so let me see. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, he said she didn't give it a chance. Then he asked her, is she intimidated by what? What is she intimidated by, Paul? Like what are you exuding that would intimidate a woman? Because I certainly can't see it on the TV screen. Let me leave Paul alone. Anyway, so then we get Precious and Tori. Again, I like Precious. I enjoyed the conversation with her and Tori. And so they kind of talked a little bit about their issues, or he had issues with his mom. And he basically said that his mom wasn't very loving and very nurturing. He didn't hear the words "I love you" from her until he was already an adult, and he recognized that that has an impact. My son is screaming, yelling, playing video games. That is so annoying. he recognized that that has an impact on his current relationships. Again, there's some self-reflection and actually paying attention to the real feelings and the reasons that things happens that I simply love. I respect that quite a bit. Um, and so then she also mentioned that she didn't have her mother in her life coming up. And so she has fears about being a mother herself. Like, how do I do it when I didn't really experience it from my mom? And then she's also kind of like, she fears not being there for her child in the same way that her mother was not there for her. So again, people are being vulnerable, and I'm liking that. I'm really, really liking that, but I hope it's real, because I thought that things were real with Walter last season, and no. Anyways, so yeah, so Tori and Precious liked each other, and I think later when she talked to Tommy, she said she liked him a lot. So then we get Tommy is asking the ladies who they liked. So Precious liked Demetrius, and Joy and Sabrina also said that they liked Demetrius. They liked that he was vulnerable. Dakia liked Demetrius and Clifton. Joy was like, Clifton, honey, he's easy to talk to. Tiffany also liked Clifton. She said he was like a homeboy, and she liked Wiley. Precious liked Tori, and like I said, she said she liked him a lot. And then Keena said she liked Laverne and that he was interesting and had a lot to say. So then he asked who they did not have connections to, and I think we all kind of knew what was going to happen there. Keena said she didn't like Fernando. Precious said she didn't like P.O., aka Paul. And the ladies pretty much all agreed they didn't really care for Paul, and they also didn't care for Fernando. So ultimately, Fernando was voted off, even though Ace did contribute that she felt like Paul was confrontational. And I could see that. Anyway, so Fernando was voted off. His butt was too big, apparently, for this group of women. And nobody appreciated his interview style conversation. So then we go back and we know that one of the women also has to be voted off. So the women are kind of cranking it up now. And we see Wiley and Ace, they're having a conversation. They seem to be hitting it off pretty well. Dakia and Tori, and he's like, he's attracted to her, but he felt like he wasn't really getting anything from her in the conversation. So she kind of dropped down to the bottom of his list. Joy and Clifton sat, and he just really, really felt like the interest was there, and you could just see it. Like they kind of vibed sitting there, just kind of chit chatting. They were comfortable joking with each other. They were comfortable flirting with each other. Like they really just seemed kind of like a natural connection. I enjoyed that scene so much. So Laverne and Sabrina were trying to have some alone time, and then Precious came over, and Precious immediately starts flirting. And I like the way she flirts, because she flirts where she makes it clear to the man that I'm flirting with you, but I don't feel like she's being like overtly sexual or selling herself short or making it like that's all she has to offer. I like that. I think that that's very, very feminine, and it's cool with me. Um, so then Keena comes and interrupts, and Precious is like, okay, so that's the problem with Laverne, is that I like him and he cool, but everybody gonna like him and he gonna be cool with everybody. And I certainly understand that it's interesting being in a relationship with someone who's a social butterfly. And it does look like Laverne is comfortable being that social butterfly. Because like I said earlier, he seemed kind of cocky, but I think that's probably because he's used to being the cool guy, the guy that everybody can relate to, the guy that everybody gets along with, that the girls are interested in, the guys are cool with, and all of that. Whatever. Anyway, so Paul tells Sabrina that he's the main event. Who cast this show, and where did y'all find Paul? How much is Paul worth? That's what I want to know. Because there's got to be like something that makes women interested in him. Because right now, personality is not selling it. How much you worth, Paul? What's in your bank account? Because that's what I would need to know before I could decide. Wiley and Tiffany are talking, and they're like touching hands and looking snuggly and all of that. And I was just wondering, is this genuine that she's attracted to him, or is she like, okay, they're about to vote off one of the ladies, let me you know, do a little something something. Anyway, so Clifton and Dakia talk, and I love his vibe while he's talking to her. So I don't feel the same connection between the two of them, but he has this confidence that is really, really attractive. He has this he's one of those people who is simply comfortable in his body. And he's one of those people who you feel more comfortable with who you are being in his presence. That's how I took it. And Dakia seems so happy to be getting this moment to sit with him. And then here come Keena. And Keena tired. She just want to rest her feet. She's interrupting their conversation. She's like barely following along. They're talking about wanting to go live by the water, and she's like, "Yeah, Ohio sounds nice." And Clifton picked up on it. He's like, "Yeah, I think she was tired." I feel like she wasn't really invested in this. She got there, didn't see exactly what she wanted, and was like, "All right, I'm ready to go home. What time can I leave?" That's what it seemed like to me. And then ultimately, of course, once the men got together with Tommy, they talked about who they liked. She wasn't really one of them. Paul is still calling himself PO, and Tommy is like clearly making fun of him, and he doesn't catch it. Um, but anyway, so as far as Sabrina goes, you had Paul, Tori, and Demetrius all said they liked her. Precious, Tori, and Laverne said they liked her. Dakia, Clifton said he liked her, and then Joy, both Clifton and Demetrius liked her. But when it came to Keena, you had Troy, Wiley, and Demetrius all like, we're not really doing that. And then you had Wiley and Paul both said that they didn't really have any interest in Ace. And so ultimately, Keena was the one who bit the dust and had to be sent home, which was probably for the best. Because again, I don't think she saw what she wanted there anyways. But maybe her and Big Butt Fernando will, connect on the outside. Maybe she'll give that a second thought and maybe see if that's the life for her. I don't know. Anyways, I'm looking forward to this season because so far I'm enjoying a lot of the personalities, probably more so than I did at the onset of last season. So let me know what you all think. Who are you feeling? Who are you not feeling? Who you think gonna cause the drama? I don't know. I got a couple of ideas in mind. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, y'all. And thanks again for 10K.